What's up, Raptors fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. For today's video, I want to talk about why the Raptors will surprise everyone and be a top 5 team in the East this season. So we know the Raptors obviously had a lot of trouble last season with Tampa, with COVID injuries, with all of the things we can talk about. But for today's video, I'm going to break down some of the statistics, their weaknesses, the Raptors, what they did to improve on that. Their offseason, I'm going to digest the roster a little bit. I'm going to show you some stats. So before we get into the details of the video, guys, you know the drill. Give this video a thumbs up. It does help reach more basketball fans like yourself. And if you want to hit the subscribe button as well, that would be absolutely amazing. And I also do give out shout outs to random subscribers. So for today's video, the shout out goes to Kawhi Leopard. So Kawhi, thank you so much of your support. Thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. So when you talk about some of the weaknesses the Raptors have, one of the major weaknesses with the Raptors last season was scoring. So we know we can use COVID protocols. We can use getting COVID injuries, all sorts of other things being in Tampa as an excuse, but the Raptors definitely struggle with their offense. And when you take a look at this chart here, they're ranked 19th in the league, averaging 111.3 points per game. And I mentioned this in my other video. I want to take a deeper dive into this though, because when you talk about point production, you have to talk about the centers and what Aaron Baines and Alex Len gave you. Now, I know Alex Len was only with the Raptors for about 7 games or so, but their combined production gave you 8.4 points per game, and Aaron Baines, who was with the Raptors the entire season, let's not talk about him. But that's not to disrespect any of those players, but just some of the ways that the Raptors improved. Now, we know we got Khem Birch from last season, and Khem Birch averaged about 11.9 points with the Raptors. Now, Precious Achiuwa, 5 points per game with the Heat, but he played limited minutes. But you could see Alex Len also played limited minutes. Alex Len only played about 10 minutes with the Raptors. But just talking about point productions simply from your centers, you're getting this, and we know Precious in the preseason, he's been averaging about 12 points per game. So I think they're very well capable. If we combine Khem Birch and Precious Achiuwa throughout the season, I think they'll easily give you 20 points per game between the two players. So it's going to be fun getting some more production from your centers, because we know the Raptors struggle. And I do want to go back on this screen here again, because when you talk about the Raptors struggles with offense, and just when you take a look at that chart, and they've pretty much doubled their point production from our centers. If those two centers give us just 16 points, which I think they'll give you more, but when you take a look at the Raptors being in the 19th spot, 111.3 points per game, and you look at the 9th or 10th spot, you look at the Clippers and the New Orleans Pelicans, it's about 114 points. So there's about a 3-point differential there, and we're just getting that much more production from the centers. So I think that'll make a huge difference, just the centers alone, and we haven't even touched upon the rest of the rosters. Let's talk about the Raptors' other weaknesses as well. So some of the other weaknesses I've noticed with the Raptors was clearly the rebounding issues. So as you see there, the Raptors are ranked 28th in the league last season with the rebounds, averaging only about 41.6 rebounds per game. Now again, Khem Birch did make a big impact on the Raptors, and I want to go back on this chart again, because your rebounding starts with your center players. Now Aaron Baines, Alex Len gave you a combined 6.8 rebounds, whereas Precious and having Khem Birch 11 rebounds. And again, I think there's the rebounds between those two players, and Khem Birch and Precious, are going to be a lot more, because Precious Achiuwa in preseason was averaging about 8 rebounds a game, and we know Khem Birch is very well capable of getting around similar numbers as well. So I think it's fair to say that both of those guys can give you combined probably 10 more rebounds. So I want to go back on this chart here again. I want to talk about rebounds, because the NBA is all about numbers and statistics. Now, when you compare the Raptors at the 28th spot, averaging 41.6 rebounds, and add about 10 more rebounds, we're going to be way up there. So Brooklyn Nets, who are averaging 44.4 rebounds, again, that's a differential of 3 rebounds, and our centers are going to be that much more, better at rebounding. And that's not even to touch upon other guys. So we've got a lot more length and size than Scotty Barnes, other players that will be great rebounders as well. So let's move on and dissect some of these other weaknesses that the Raptors really struggled with last season. So this is one of the main reasons I think the Raptors will be pushed into the top 5, because when you take a look at the Raptors ranked dead last in bench scoring last season, so the Raptors averaged 30 points from their bench, which was, let's be honest, more than half of that could have easily been contributed to Chris Boucher and Norman Powell, because we know Norman Powell, although he struggled a little bit, him and Chris Boucher were essentially our two only players that were giving you any sort of point production off of the bench. So when you take a look at the Raptors roster from last season. I mean, let's be honest. Who was our bench outside of Chris Boucher? And we know Norman Powell struggled. There's not really anyone that stands out. Someone who got a lot of consistent minutes off of the bench was DeAndre Bembry. We know Stanley Johnson started getting a lot more minutes towards the end of the season. So him, DeAndre Bembry, I mean, Matt Thomas, he was playing inconsistent minutes. We know Paul Watson was up and down as well. Malachi Flynn was there. He didn't get consistent minutes. And Jalen Harris had one or two good games. And then, of course, we had Rodney Hood as well. So our bench was an entire mess last season. And, of course, we have other guys as well, like Yuta Watanabe, who wasn't getting consistent minutes either. So I think having consistent bench players, and when you look at the Raptors roster this season, it's absolutely stacked. I mean, just looking at the Raptors roster, but also the bench as well. Our bench is going to be consistent of, you look at guys like, you could either have Khem Birch or Precious Achiuwa being your center off of the bench. And then, of course, you got guys like, assuming everyone's healthy, Scotty Barnes. You have, of course, Malachi Flynn, who I expect to be making a big jump this season, as well as other guys like Goran Dragic as well. There's other guys like Svi Mykhailiuk as well. So it's going to be fun to see the Raptors bench finally have some sort of point production, which is something they were really lacking last season. I can easily see them averaging about 40 points. And again, I want to go back on that screen because when you go back and look at the point production, just having a few more point productions makes such a difference, and that would really bump the Raptors up from the last to, I mean, look at the Pacers are ranked in the 36th, right? So that's 6-point differential. And I think you can easily see that the Raptors bench will be a lot better because, look, we got, of course, Sam Dekker. I know a lot of people weren't happy about him making the roster over Ishmael Wainwright. And there's other players as well who can just shoot the ball. We didn't have a lot of shooters last season. Stanley Johnson couldn't shoot. DeAndre Bembry couldn't shoot. Matt Thomas could, but he didn't get consistent minutes. Malachi Flynn was a little bit consistent. So we get a lot more shooting this season. So I think the Raptors will be a lot better. Of course, there was some reports lately that apparently Sam Dekker made about 85 out of 100 3-pointers in practice, only behind Svi Mykhailiuk, who made about 90 out of 100. So, look, we got some shooters on the bench. It's going to be fun to see the bench finally produce, and that takes a little bit of pressure off the starters as well, right? So that prevents injuries. Nick Nurse won't be forced to play the guys about 35, 40 minutes on back-to-back games. He can kind of push the bench a little bit, so it'll be fun to see the Raptors finally get a little bit more help from the bench. And another thing I felt like the Raptors really struggled with last season, as evident by, again, when you take a look at the stats here, was the assists per game. The Raptors were ranked 20th in the league, which was honestly a little bit surprising considering we had Kyle Lowry, so we know the Raptors lost Kyle Lowry, and I'm not saying anyone has replaced the GOAT, I mean the greatest Raptor of all time, but in terms of our roster, who we have, when you take a look at the roster, and again, I want to touch a little bit upon this as well because I know people weren't big fans of Goran Dragic when we got him, but in terms of assist and passing, I've talked about this a little bit, just now the bench has looked so much better. The bench is going to be a lot better. And when you take a look at the right screen, assuming those are the guys that are coming off the bench, and that's not even to touch upon Svi Mykhailiuk, who you see, kind of sad and lonely in the left-handed corner there. But assuming these 5 guys on the right-hand side are our bench, you expect guys like Goran Dragic, and we saw some of the passing ability from Scotty Barnes in preseason. Just those guys alone will make up for Kyle Lowry and average more assists. I know there's a lot of question marks about Malachi Flynn, but when you have people scoring off of the bench, I think it almost sounds too funny to say this, but when your bench is making baskets, your assist ratio is likely to go up, and our starters are going to be fun as well to watch. I expect OG Anunoby to exceed his point production from last season. I think there's no doubt about that. He showed a lot of steps towards getting a lot better offensively. So I think it sounds silly to say this, but when you make more baskets, you're going to get more assists. So I think it's fair to say that our bench will be a big boost for the Raptors in terms of not only bench production, scoring-wise, but also getting more assists as well. So I expect big things from Goran Dragic as well. A lot of people were hating on him, but I think point production-wise as well as assist, he's going to produce some good numbers. So I think he'll give you that. And of course, we have Scotty Barnes who might just be starting, considering Chris Boucher and Pascal Siakam, our power forwards, are out to start the season. So it'll be interesting to see what the Raptors do this season. I do genuinely believe that the Raptors will be a top 5 team, maybe even top 4, because when you take a look at the East, the East has definitely gotten stronger, but there's no way you can 100% say outside of maybe Milwaukee or Brooklyn that there are teams out there in the East that are that much better than the Raptors. So as long as the Raptors don't have major injuries, and I know to start the season, Pascal's out for a few weeks, Chris Boucher is out for about a week to 10 days, but outside of those two injuries, hopefully the Raptors stay healthy. I don't see them being lower than 5th or 6th at the least, but I definitely do believe the Raptors will be a top 5 team, maybe even top 4. I don't see that as a far stretch. I know a lot of Raptors fans are a little bit low on the Raptors, saying they'll be 6, 7, 8, 9. I think the Raptors will be a top 5 team without doubt. But I do want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys disagree with me? Do you guys agree with me? And as always, guys, you know the new drill. I've been had this new trivia quiz for you guys. So let's do the trivia quiz for today. But I also do want to say, I was surprised as how many Raptors fans, how many of you guys did not get the last question? So a few of you guys did, but the answer to last question, which was, who was the last Raptors player to win Rookie of the Year? That was actually Vince Carter. So Damon Stoudemire did win Rookie of the Year, but the last Raptor player, so the most recent Raptor player to win Rookie of the Year was Vince Carter. Now this is a lot harder than the last couple of questions I have presented to you guys, and this player was waived by the Raptors, won the MVP in the Israel League, and later traded to the Raptors, and is also an NBA champ. So who is this player? Is it A, Hedo Turkoglu, B, PJ Tucker, C, Rasho Nesterovic? You old school Raptors fans may remember her, and of course, you know, the 3-time champion Patrick McCaw. Let me know who is this player in the comment section below. The winner, the first player to get this, or excuse me, the first person to get this question right will get a shout out in the next video. And as always, guys, I provide bonus clips for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this bonus clip of the Raptors management reacting to drafting Scottie Barnes. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have yourselves a great day.
The Toronto Raptors select Scottie Barnes.